What did the ocean say to the beach? Nothing. It just waved.
Nice. Okay.
That's pretty good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
You want one last one?
Yeah.
Yep, please.
Where do you learn to make a banana split?
I don't know. Where?
Sunday school.
Oh, man, that's good.
Welcome to SmartLess, everybody.
Welcome, everyone.
SmartLess.
I've been watching all these interviews with William Friedkin, who directed movies that we can't name, but
Oh, yeah.
amazing interviews.
Are we celebrating a life lost?
No, yeah, we are, and he was a tremendous artist, and just one of the funny things. I just read this thing talking about speaking to these students, and the student said, "I'm about to shoot my student film. What format should I shoot it in?" And he said, "Who gives a shit?"
Is that true? William said that?
True story. Oh, maybe
Oh my
laugh.
gosh.
Maybe laugh.
He directed a scary movie that I can't watch
I know.
today because it's so
So
scary.
scary.
Hey, Sean, I know we talk about this a lot, but it's enough already.
From me, from my mouth.
What? No, you being in New York.
I know,
What
it's so dumb.
look, can we have a
know.
date? Now, I'm sure this is going to air past the day because I feel like we're close. How much longer?
3 weeks, 21 shows.
Sean, I got sent a picture yesterday from somebody whom you do not know, my friend Elizabeth, and she sent me a photo. Her partner sent a photo of her. She didn't want her to leave her seat, and he took a photo because she was at your show in the balcony, and she was so moved. She was sat there for like 20 minutes, like just reacting to it. She was so moved by your
That's so
performance.
nice.
A true story. Yeah.
Wow.
That was 2 nights
Well,
ago.
I mean, that's so sweet. It's please tell her thank you. And wait, 2 things though. One is Scotty being stuck here, Jay, to your point, treated me to a helicopter ride the other day. Will?
Yeah.
Hopefully
Yes.
he wasn't flying.
No, he was not flying.
Okay.
And we flew so close to, because we haven't left or done anything in 6 months. Literally apartment theater.
Yeah.
And so we flew around, and the helicopter came really close to the Statue of Liberty, like really close. It was unbelievable. I'd never seen it that close.
So Scotty just said, "Hey, let's go take a helicopter trip around the city." And
Yeah,
you
because we haven't
guys-
done anything.
Just to do something. Just take
Yeah.
a look.
Sounds great.
Yeah, have you ever done that?
No, I would love to. Now, I'm a little. I'm not a huge fan of helicopters. I love
Yeah,
their
I'm not
mobility, their flexibility, and all that stuff. But you know, there's zero glide potential.
Yeah,
in
it's
these
the glide.
things.
It's the
And
glide,
it's,
right?
What do you mean? What do you mean glide?
Well, I mean, it's sort of it's fool's comfort anyway to think the plane has glide potential if the engines go to shit.
Well, the guy told me that. The guy's like, because I'm like, what's the plan? He's like, oh no, if the
That's how
engine,
you started the trip.
we were in the air, and I talked about it. I shouldn't have because it freaked me out. He goes, look, if the engines fail, and they won't, he goes, you just glide down to the bottom. It's got like that potential. So is he lying?
The helicopter does.
The helicopter?
What kind of helicopter were we on? Did it have a bunch
I
of
don't know. It was-
of wings on it, or a
Have
bunch
you
of
ever
birds
seen-
attached
You
to
ever
it?
seen a sack of potatoes dropped? Like, it just falls, man.
Yeah, I mean,
know.
there's some physics and So anyway, I
scary.
mean,
It was scary.
listen, I don't think that's how any of us, none of our listeners, none of us. That's not how we're going.
No.
No,
I know what you mean. When the thing took off and, it wobbles when it takes off left to right, left to right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, it's pretty scary.
You're gonna choke on a wonton one day, and that's how you're gonna go. It's like, Scotty, I can get one more in here. Give it to me. And that'll be it for you.
Just the word wonton is so
Wonton,
funny.
are you kidding? That sounds pretty. He's going to choke on the fucking heel of a loaf of Wonder. He's like, well, it's still bread. I'll just have the heel. Just
I literally
load
just
it up.
had-
You ever make bread balls where you take the center of the white bread and you ball it up into something? Look at it. It's a bread
just-
meatball.
I collect heels. I just make heels. All my sandwiches are
Scotty.
from heels of loaves of bread.
We ate tortillas, just the tortilla.
No shit. Well, it's 9 a.m., so that makes sense. Hey, listen.
You ever make bread balls?
Hey, I love me some music. I love music.
Uh-oh.
And I love all kinds of different music, man. I always have. I've always had. I like to think that I have an eclectic taste because sometimes I think, well, I'm just kind of a dinosaur sort of '90s indie rock guy, but I'm not.
Same.
I'm kind of all over the place.
You're the one who told Paul Simon to go down to Africa and do Graceland, right? You're
Well, I
like,
was an
hey, have you
inspiration for him.
explored these
Yeah.
sounds?
But I've been into, we've had a lot of great musicians on the show, and I've been a friend of them all, whether it's from sort of new wave or, whatever, to classic rock and roll to, I don't know, just everything. Think about it. And today's guest is such a representative of an entire genre of music that they kind of inspired so many musicians, and not just of their genre, but of all genres. It's so rare when somebody from one genre is able to inspire people across all different types of
You
music.
got Madonna. Unbelievable.
This person is
Madonna.
he joined us from overseas, born in Denmark, and then moved to the U.S. and formed a band that has sold nearly 120 million albums worldwide.
That's money.
Generating more than 15 billion streams.
He's from Denmark?
Yeah, I mean, 9 Grammy Awards, 2 American Music Awards, multiple MTV Movie Video Awards, 2009 induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Just all over the place. They've done it all. They played with everybody. This is none other than one of my all-time faves. It's Lars Ulrich of Metallica.
Good
No
Lord.
way.
Lars.
And now the high-tech reveal. See if I can do this. Oh, my God.
Oh my God. No
Hey
way.
there.
Also known as, hi, my name is Bread Balls. I like
Bread balls.
Bread balls.
Bread Balls. Hi.
Bread balls.
Oh my
Or
gosh.
otherwise known as Michael Cooper's best friend. How's Coop?
Yes, that's right. Michael Cooper. He's texting me as we're speaking, and he's texting you.
Now Michael Cooper's got one of these ailments that I think affects a lot of people on
Tell
on
us
the
who
texting
Michael is.
thing.
He's a
Michael
friend of yours.
Cooper's a guy I used to work with.
Sure.
And now he's working with fancier folks than me. But he uses the send button as a period when he texts people.
That's yes. That's 23 texts showing up at one time is a normal 5 minutes from Michael Cooper, but they're all sent with love
I know
and
they are.
kisses.
I love him.
And
Sure.
pictures of himself driving. How many pictures of Michael Cooper do you have of him driving?
Driving, showing off a watch or a new
Right.
hairstyle or a new set of glasses. I'm not on, I didn't sign up for the Cooper fan letter. God. I love him though.
As long as you have an iPhone and a text message thread with him, you're in that fan club.
I love him.
I just
Look at
want to
the-
say one. I just want to say one thing that,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you guys have heard this before, but you don't need guests on your show. Just the 7-minute banter there before the reveal. That's plenty.
It's all dumbness.
I've taken some potential Metallica titles away from this. I think Bread Balls is the one to beat.
Yep.
I like Zero Glide Potential a lot. That sounds more like an album
That's
title.
a great hard rock title.
Yeah, I think Zero. That's
That's like, well, they did it before. It's called Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, right.
Zero glide
Yeah, there's a
potential.
lot of bad jokes in there that we should shy away from. And then the last thing I would say also, is it Madonna? I like that one too. That's
She's the
fitting.
marrier of all genres.
Dude, Lars, thank you for doing this, man.
Nice to meet
it's so
you.
great to have
Right
you.
back at you.
And I had the good fortune of hanging out just a couple times with Lars a few years ago through mutual friends.
That's right.
And I've always, and of course, I didn't want to, drill you with it at the time and embarrass you. I've always been such a fan of Metallica and your music, and one of the things that I did not know, and I guess a lot of hardcore Metallica fans did know this, was I didn't know that you actually moved to the States just to play tennis. I knew that you were a tennis player and that you were a competitive tennis player,
Wait,
but I
what?
didn't know that that was the whole purpose of your move, was to play tennis. Is that
The
true?
whole purpose was to. So my father, I grew up in Copenhagen, Denmark, as you guys circled, and
And you were born there?
born and raised in Copenhagen, and my dad was a professional tennis player, and I come from a family of tennis players. So his brother was one of the other greats in the country, and at one point, the Davis Cup, the Danish Davis Cup team was my dad, his brother, and the captain was their dad. So it's a long line of famous tennis greats in Denmark, and I of course wanted to follow in their footsteps. So when I finished school in 1979 in Denmark, I ended up in Bradenton, Florida, the first year of Nick Bollettieri's tennis academy.
No way.
And you moved because of tennis? Is that why you
Yes.
moved? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Nick Bollettieri Tennis Camp, which at the time, by the way, was revolutionary. It was like the real place where a lot of these famous young dedicated tennis players went, right? It was like the first of its kind. Am I right, Lars?
And it was also a transitional time in tennis where, up till the mid 70s to the late 70s, the best tennis players all over the world were the ones that had the most talent. But as it shifted in the late 70s, the best tennis players ended up becoming the ones that worked the hardest at it and played, 6-8 hours a day and doing drills and worked in the weight room and all this type of stuff. That there was a seismic shift in the whole setup. And I went the first year to Nick Bollettieri's, and then after that we moved out to Southern California, ended up in Newport Beach, where I was going to attend Cornell Del Mar High School with my dad's friend, the tennis great from Australia, Roy Emerson, his son, Anthony.
Wow.
And so in Denmark, up through those years, in my junior years, I was ranked in the top 10 consistently in the country. And when I came out to Southern California and went to Cornell Del Mar High School as a junior in 11th grade, I did not, this is a true story, I did not make the fucking tennis team. I was not one of the 7 best players at Cornell Del Mar High School.
Jeez.
So the whole tennis dream and following in the Ulrich footsteps, that came crashing down, no pun intended, to the zero glide potential there, but that came crashing down in one afternoon, and then rock and roll was hovering in the trenches and took over.
Wow.
But wait, so Lars, you make this, I mean, and you sort of, you talk about it very openly in the fact that, I knew that you had this come from this dynasty, this Danish tennis dynastic family, and then you go to Nick Bollettieri, and then you come to Southern California, and like you say, in one afternoon, like all of a sudden, you try out, they put out the list for the tennis team, you're not on it, and you're like, well, there goes everything. Like, how does that?
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard myself obviously tell that story 9,000 times, so it gets shorter and shorter and becomes more of a soundbite. But it is pretty much what happened. Music was always hovering, and music was my escape away from the discipline of tennis. And I'd been playing both guitar and drums in Denmark, and I was 17 at the time. As you get a little older and you start drinking a few beers and looking at the girls differently, and blah blah blah, and things change. And but I was it pretty much came crashing down.
Did you teach yourself to play guitar and drums, or were you doing it like through
in school in Denmark?
In school,
Yeah. What language do they speak in Denmark?
They speak Danish.
And do you
Sean, can I talk to you for a sec?
Sorry, Lars.
Just come over here for
dude.
1 second.
So sorry, dude.
And do you still speak it?
Jeg snakker stadig dansk. Jeg er stadig totalt dansk. Jeg er 100% dansk, og jeg vil,
your mic's going out.
vil altid være dansk.
You going over a canyon?
I'm still proudly, there's only 5 million of us, and we keep it loud and proud, and I'm still a Danish citizen, actually, and still travel on my Danish passport.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Now, so then you learned these 2 instruments in school. It wasn't a music school, was it, or was it just a
No, it was just Danish public school.
Pick an elective, and band was one of them, and you gravitated toward those 2 instruments. Was that simple?
Ish, yeah. I mean, I was, my dad's passion away from tennis was also music. So I grew up in a very, musically rich household. There was a lot of, all the jazz greats from, Miles Davis to Coltrane to Charlie Parker to Dexter Gordon, all these, and a lot of Hendrix and Doors and Rolling Stones playing out of my dad's music room all the time. So there was a lot of music in the family and in the household.
Was there a particular band or drummer or guitarist that got you to want to jump into those 2 instruments, or was it just
I started going to concerts in Denmark early. I was 9 years old when I went to see Deep Purple, and over the next couple of years, like 74, 75, I saw bands like The Sweet and Slade and Status Quo and Kiss came to Denmark in '76, and then it started going into Thin Lizzy and Rainbow and so on. But Deep Purple was my first real music
Yeah.
experience
Wow.
and has always been the North Star for me.
What about drummers? Who were the drummers that you were like, yes?
Ian Pace from Deep Purple,
Yeah.
the guy with the round glasses, who was just insane driving Deep Purple. I gravitated towards also Phil Rudd from AC/DC, who's obviously very different than Ian Pace. But he was a huge inspiration.
How did it go over with your family? That was, you say, were a big tennis family. I'm assuming that there wasn't a lot of hard rock happening in the car on the way back and forth to the courts. Like,
Yeah.
how did they feel about that?
There was
that
a lot
career?
of anything happening in the car because I biked to school starting in second
But
grade.
that big sort of career pivot for you and lifestyle pivot for you, were they cool with that?
Yeah, my dad was very forgiving with all that. Like I said before, he was his passion was music. He actually wrote about jazz music for some Danish publications, and at that time, in the 50s and 60s, especially Copenhagen, but Stockholm to a degree, and obviously Paris, were just the European. Havens for American jazz music. So many of the American jazz greats came to Europe, spent a lot of time in Scandinavia. People like Ben Webster lived in Copenhagen. Dexter Gordon lived in Copenhagen. John Chikai. But Copenhagen was very much a hotbed for jazz music at the time.
Growing up too, like kind of to Jason's point, like where you, your parent, because I always thought like when we grew up in a super small house, and I was always playing piano, practicing piano, and it drove everybody crazy because it was so tiny. How in the world, like Jason and Will, what if your kids just like, Dad, I want to play drums?
I'd throw 'em out.
That going on in the house constantly.
I'd throw
We got
'em
the
out.
electric. We got the electric ones now with the headset.
Yeah, with the headset.
Yeah,
they can
Oh,
probably
that's
you'd be
just-
all
true.
right.
That's
But
true.
No, we didn't have that back in the day, right, Lars?
They didn't have those back in the day. No, I had a room down in the basement where I had a little music room where I had my records and my record player, and I got a drum kit, a small piece together drum kit down, and I could bash away down in the basement and do my thing down there without pissing off too many of the,
so
the
good.
Yeah,
rest of the
I
household.
can't imagine that going through the house all the time. I mean, it's great that you did it, and everybody does it.
Now, Lars, us soft, actors, we fantasize about like
You.
the life on the, you're pretty soft too. Hard rock, traveling and touring and having all that fun, and you look so good, so healthy, so not like you've been on the road in like arguably the biggest rock and roll band ever for years and years and years. Has the touring changed now in the past decade or so, such that you don't look like death warmed over? Like, how does it all work now? You guys get to bed early. It's now shakes
Another good
instead
title.
of-
It's
shakes
not 30.
instead
It's
of
not 30
booze.
beers. It's just 15.
Yeah, it's a protein shake, right? And
It's,
some mindfulness.
Yeah, the short answer is yes. We just played a couple shows out at MetLife Stadium on Friday and Sunday here in New York, where I'm checking in from, and we're on our way up to Montreal in a couple days. So right
Nice.
now we're playing every Friday and Sunday. For the rest of the summer, we play 2 shows in each city, so the travel is less, and
that's nice.
it's a weekend thing, and it is it's protein shakes, it's tofu, it's vegetables.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
if my 20 or 30-year-old self was on this podcast with you guys, he would be sitting going, "What the fuck are you talking about?" But 42 years in, obviously you have to make these changes. And growing up in around tennis and growing up around sports, it's not that difficult for me to be rigid and disciplined.
Yeah.
I barely drink. I haven't had a drink in 3 months. I'll have half a glass of champagne and that's it occasionally. But other than that,
You still playing tennis?
I still do play tennis. Yeah, I love
good.
playing tennis, and I love sports, and I love being engaged, and I work out. They have me chained to a Peloton most of the time when I'm not doing podcasts or playing rock shows, and so I do work out a lot.
That's
and
great.
But it is true about the protein shakes, and we have we're fortunate to have our great chef Simon, who travels with us and hands us all kinds of healthy and it's healthy drinks, and it's good. But listen, we've lived it. Lots of crazy fun. I mean, also we started. James and I met when I was 17, he was 18. We started Metallica. We put our first record out when I was 19. And we were touring the world 19 and 20. So we started early.
It's just so amazing to me.
And you gotta we got a lot of that fun stuff out of the way, and I can access a good part of those memories when I want to. Some of them live really far back there behind doors that are hard to open and probably shouldn't be opened.
Yeah.
But nowadays, I'm knocking on the door of 60 here later this year, and the only way to play shows like we just did out at MetLife Stadium here is to be in the best shape you can be. So, all kidding aside and cliches, yes, it is obviously pretty different than it was 20, 30 years ago, and thankfully so, because the victory now is the perseverance and being able to still do it, and that's kind of what motivates us.
Yeah, I bet it does. And I bet you can't imagine. I bet you're speaking about your younger selves. I bet your 17-year-old self, when you met James Hetfield and you guys formed Metallica, couldn't imagine that all these years later you guys would still be fucking rocking out and going and playing stadiums around the world.
It's pretty crazy. We've been playing. So I looked into it the other day. So we've played out at, it used to be called Giant Stadium. Now you have to say MetLife, so you don't, because you get into a whole divisive conversation between the Giants and the Jets. You don't want to do that around here. But we played. I just looked it up. We've played Giant Stadium 9 times, and and we've had obviously a relationship with the greater New York tri-state area, whatever you want to call it, for 4+ decades. The 2 shows we just played this weekend were the 2 biggest shows we've ever played in New York City.
Shit.
So
That's amazing.
so that's not a hey, look how great big Metallica is or whatever. That's about the music scene. That's about post-COVID, people want to come out and live again. That's about hard rock still.
Yeah, but they're not coming out for everybody. You deserve some credit for the longevity and the relevance and the quality of the music and your relationship with your fans and all of that stuff. Your mental health, right? Because if you guys were a disaster, people would probably get turned off by you if there was a bunch of infighting and all of that garbage.
Right.
So you've kept it all together.
Thank you.
Cool.
I appreciate that. I think a significant part of what drives us to this day is that we're kind of led by the mantra of our best days are still ahead of us, and our favorite record is the one we haven't made yet, and that we actually may turn professional at some point and do this for real one day.
And we will be right back. SmartLess is sponsored by BetterHelp. So, listen, unless you're a robot or just visiting from another planet, you've got thoughts. You've got thoughts that sometimes are not that friendly and are difficult to process. Now, BetterHelp is right there in the title, right? Right there in the name. You can get some help to better process these thoughts at BetterHelp. It works. Do you ever find yourself, just as you're trying to fall asleep, your brain suddenly won't stop talking? Do your thoughts start racing right before bed or at other inopportune moments? It turns out one great way to make those racing thoughts go away is to talk them through with BetterHelp. Therapy gives you a place to do that, so you can get out of your negative thought cycles and find some mental and emotional peace. If you're thinking of starting therapy, why don't you give BetterHelp a try? It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. So I highly recommend just finding someone that you can just download your stuff with. Just, at worst, just treat them as a file cabinet where you can at least just deposit this stuff so they don't keep you up at night. Get a break from your thoughts with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/SmartLess today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/SmartLess. We get support from Audible, the home of storytelling. You'll discover thousands of podcasts, from popular favorites to exclusive new series, guided wellness programs, theatrical performances, comedy, and exclusive Audible originals from top celebrities, renowned experts, and exciting new voices in audio. The Audible app makes it easy to listen anytime, anywhere, while traveling, working out, walking, doing chores. You decide. One that I'm really enjoying is written by James Clear, called Atomic Habits. It's just basically, it's not just another self-help book. It's something that, like, you can actually put these things into motion, like these ways in which to make good habits pleasantly habitual. Does that make sense? And as James says himself, tiny changes, remarkable results. New members can try Audible free for 30 days. Visit audible.com/SmartLess or text SmartLess to 500-500. That's audible.com/SmartLess or text SmartLess to 500-500 to try Audible free for 30 days. Audible.com/SmartLess. This show is supported in part by ZipRecruiter. We're not great at a bunch of stuff over here at SmartLess, but we are the best at a few things. Number one, Sean Hayes, best pianist at parties. Okay, this guy can really tickle the ivories. Will Arnett is the best at, really nothing except maybe being the best Canadian on the podcast. The bad news there is that he's the only Canadian. Okay, so he gets something. That's a trophy. I'm the best at being long-winded and not interesting. Our sponsor, ZipRecruiter, is also the best at something, finding top talent for your hard-to-fill roles. So if you need to hire, you can try ZipRecruiter right now for free at ZipRecruiter.com/SmartLess. ZipRecruiter's powerful technology does the work for you. It scans thousands of resumes to find great matches for your job. ZipRecruiter lets you invite the most qualified people to apply for your job to help you stand out amongst the competition. When it comes to hiring, go with the best. ZipRecruiter, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. What are you afraid of? Go to this exclusive web address right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. ZipRecruiter.com/SmartLess. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/SmartLess. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
And now back to the show.
I want to kind of get into a little bit about you and James. You guys, because you guys met at such a young age. Talking about like and that you seem to still have, by virtue of what you just said, you still have this like drive to like create something new, and you're still excited about that creative process. What was it about that when you guys met at such a young age, with coming from such different backgrounds?
Yeah.
What was the thing that clicked for you guys creatively?
Before you answer that, just to piggyback on that, I think it's fascinating what Will just said, that at such a young age, you found somebody else that wanted to take it as serious as you did. What are the odds of that?
Yeah.
It's and every time people ask me that question, I always have to throw in that the energy of the universe is a big part of it, because, like you're saying, the two of us finding each other, what we had in common. There were so many things we didn't have in common, but what we had in common was that we were both sort of loners. We weren't like outcasts in that sense, or like the awkward weirdos, but we were loners, and we were misfits, and we were disenfranchised in a way that we just lived in our own worlds and listened to old music. When I ended up at Corona Del Mar High School in 1980, trust me, there was nobody else wearing an Iron Maiden T-shirt, and so it was a pretty isolated existence. And so what James and I ended up doing was, we were the brothers that neither of us, never had, and we started writing songs together and just creating the world for ourselves that we wanted to inhabit. And at that time, there was never anything about goals or success, or we're going to be famous, or this is going to translate into something with the mainstream success. There was none of that, because at that time the music that we were into and the things that were turning us off were so edgy and so isolated away from mainstream acceptance that was never even the cards.
But what's interesting about that, Lars, is that you guys were making like, whatever you want to call it, hard rock, heavy metal. You guys were making like music that was really driving it, and it was not necessarily mainstream. And then I think probably 3 or 4 records in, when by the time you guys made Metallica, which is a lot of people call the Black Album, by the time you guys made Metallica, you really broke through to the mainstream. You had a few hits that were kind of like leading up to it, but then the Black Album really broke through. And in a lot of ways, I thought before, I was like, is it that everybody else's taste changed, or that you guys prepared everybody to listen to this music? Like you guys kind of got them into this hard rock in a way. I don't know.
I think you have to put the record companies in there when you answer that question. So the record companies at that time were the gateway to everything. So the record companies, it's like the analogy I've said many times, is that you walk into a restaurant and you can have anything that you want in the restaurant as long as it's on the menu. And so the record companies were the purveyors of the menu. And so the record companies were only signing things that they thought would appeal to a large group of people. But hovering over in the left field were all these people like ourselves that wanted something that was more substantial, a little harder, a little edgier, something that they could relate to lyrically, that wasn't about this make-believe world and this fantasy that rock stars were supposedly inhabiting at the time. But people like themselves with real-world problems and anxieties and issues just like ourselves. And so slowly over the 80s, as more and more kids understood that there were music out there for them, like the type of stuff that we were doing, they started moving further and further left. They started moving the mainstream further and further out to where, bands like ourselves were hovering. And there was that seismic shift then towards the late 80s when all of a sudden the mainstream realized that there were other options that they had been fed over the years.
Right. And you guys were, like you said lyrically, Sean, that way, and I don't know, Lars, if you heard me before you came on, I quoted your song One, and I said, take my breath as I pray for death, or God, please take me.
I did. Yes.
Yeah. And like that.
I didn't write that one down as a potential, but
no, I know.
I have the other ones.
Well, you already have that song. That song already exists as a hit. And
it's still hard to beat bread balls.
But that song is like you think about it, you guys, that song specifically is about a guy who's basically in a coma, right? He's kind of paralyzed, or what's the deal with that? Like, nobody was writing songs about that in heavy.
We spent a lot of time sort of wondering what, different mental states. And so at one point we were talking about what would it be like if you couldn't speak, see, or hear, and you had no arms or legs, but you were just a living conscious. What would that feel like? What would go on inside you if you were just a living conscious? And then we found out about Dalton Trumbo's story of Johnny Got His Gun. And then we wrote a song around that, and then realized that there was actually a movie with Jason Robards that came out, I think, late 60s, early 70s. And that became our first video. And that was 4 albums in. And at that time, we had never made any videos for MTV, and we were sort of the anti-MTV band. But we finally felt that we had an idea that was worthy of making a video. And do you guys remember something called Dial MTV back in the day? And so the first day that video premiered and was eligible for Dial MTV, it premiered at #1, and it stayed at #1 for like the next couple of months. And that was a significant, I think, a wake-up call to a lot of the industry, them realizing that there was something else out there than, I don't want to mention names, but that
sure.
was out there at that time that was generating a lot of the attention.
Something more than Frankie Goes to Hollywood with the lasers.
Way to go, JB.
I mean, we're all dancing all around it. Do you miss videos at all?
We still make videos. We made for our new album. Now it's actually the opposite. For the last 2 records we've put out, we've made videos for every song on them because if you now so many people hear albums on YouTube, so you want to
Right.
have a video that you've made yourself for every song on your album rather than having somebody else make them. So we've made videos for every song on the last album that just came out a few
I
months
love
ago.
that. I remember a long time ago. I don't remember the year, but
Just guess.
Is this when your
Guess,
dad
just
left?
guess.
This is when your
Is
dad.
this the year your
when
dad left?
when my
screeched
dad
away?
left, yeah, it was 1975. No. Do you have a question for my dad,
Drop
Lars?
him to drive and just light up the rear, pause the traction, and go.
No, I have a question about.
Just like Metallica may turn professional one day, you guys should do this full time. You should do this.
Oh my God. No, I remember when hearing about you doing a concert in Antarctica, right?
That's
And you
right,
were the
yeah.
only band who's played on all 7 continents.
That's
is
right.
wild.
Yeah,
Cool.
and
Whoa.
it was sort of by chance. It was not something that we set out to do.
Well, I don't think one would, but yeah.
No, but it's not like you sit there, and go, "Hey, what should we do this year? Let's play
Yeah.
all 7 continents." We were playing in Latin America. We were playing in Europe. We were playing in North America. We had shows in in Africa and Asia, and all of a sudden it was like, "Whoa, there's a thing happening here." And we got an offer from I believe it was Coca-Cola. It was a soft drink in Brazil, who said that they were putting together a competition, and the prize was to travel to Antarctica and hang out. And they wanted to know if we would come down and play for this group of soft drinkers.
Was it cold?
Well, it was it was December, which is their June, which is their high summer, and it wasn't as cold, and it wasn't as frigid, and it wasn't as sort of otherworldly as you would expect it to
Yeah,
be.
because I was going to say, how do your hands work?
But we were down there for a couple 4 or 5 days. We stayed on an icebreaker, and we stayed with all the contest winners, and all our crew were all on this icebreaker together, which was super fun. And then we played on a Chilean research base, and we played in a tent. And do you guys know what silent disco is?
No.
When everybody wears it.
So exactly. Everybody had headphones on. I think there were like maybe 300 people there in total. Everybody had headphones on so they could hear the music, and so it didn't disturb the environment. It didn't disturb the penguins. It didn't disturb the
Really?
the other endangered species of animals that were there. And so we
cool idea.
left there was not even noise pollution.
It's weird. Last summer I was in New York and I saw these kids like late night, and they're all on the steps of this church at like midnight on a Friday night, and everybody's moving and nobody's saying a word. And I realized they've all got headphones on. They're all jamming and they're all dancing to the song, but you can't
Yeah,
hear it. It's
exactly.
fucking
Yeah.
That's
weird.
so funny.
So the only thing you can hear in the room are the lead vocals and the drums. Other than that, all the amplified instruments are going through the headphones. So it was definitely a mind fuck to be down there. A lot of fun, and to answer your question, it wasn't as crazy cold or as fucked up as you would imagine it to be. But it was cool.
Let's go. I want to go back to James just for 1 second. Just talk about collaboration and sort of
Yeah.
sharing power and creativity, and not just with him, but with the rest of the band mates. I mean, you guys have been together and so successful. And so harmonious, no pun intended, for so long. Is there a secret sauce to that? I'm sure there's some good leadership involved.
Yeah, I would say probably the word compromise.
Sure.
You gotta learn to compromise. You gotta learn to know when to lead, and you gotta learn when to step back. James and I have been obviously in the band since the beginning, and I guess we steer most of the creative conversations, and we take turns steering. And I think compromise is the key thing. And if you want to be in a band in your 50s and 60s and really want to be in a band, you've got to learn to sort of work with the environment of sort of how to deal with everybody's personal needs. A reason that there is millions of bands of people in their teens and 20s and fewer bands of people in their 50s and 60s. As you know, when people get older, they just don't want to deal with other people's shit. And you don't want to compromise, and you don't want to, hey, I've got my son's graduation is the week of Lollapalooza. Oh, well, I guess we can't play Lollapalooza or whatever. So there's a lot of those types of conversations that take place. And we have a thing in our band where everybody gets a chance to, black dates out and put, X's in a calendar, and that can't be challenged. We're very supportive of each other's personal space, and we put more resources and time into sort of the whole thing functioning as a band than we ever have before. And I'm not going to bullshit you. I mean, that doesn't get any easier as you get older. Now, most of the kids are grown up and off to college or in their 20s, so there's less concerns about getting home. But 10 years ago, we would tour in 2-week increments. We would go on the road for 2 weeks, go home for 2 weeks, go on the road for 2 weeks, go home for 2 weeks, so we wouldn't miss being with our kids and all that type of stuff.
I was going to ask you about that, about family. I mean, you guys must have had some very supportive and flexible families throughout all of this.
Yeah, but we've also steered it in the direction of trying to keep all that, as together as possible. I'm sure it's the same with you guys, but in our world, it takes a few years before you realize that you actually have a say in some of this. And so when you start out, you just get handed a schedule. And when you're 22 years old, hey, I just want to play as many gigs as possible and travel as much and be as drunk as possible and get into all kinds of crazy shenanigans. But then you realize later, hang on a second, I can actually say, I only want to be on the road for 3 months, and then I want to spend 3 months at home, or, as you go along and become more successful, you realize that you have a say in this stuff.
Well, we're lucky because we started doing this thing in our 50s, and as we've done it, and we've talked about maybe we did a short tour a couple years ago, and we're talking about doing another one. But everything that we do, we always do with the understanding that like everybody's got stuff, and if somebody's got stuff, we never challenge it in that same way either, because we know what life's like, and it's kids, and it's thing, and it's Sean's been doing his play for 6 months, and like that's important. So we've got to honor that, and that's the thing you got to do. I forgot to ask because I've always wanted to know this.
Favorite color?
Who came up with? No, well, I was going to. I know
Has he ever forgot a line on stage?
I know that Sean was lighting up. Favorite appetizer on the Chin Chin menu? No. What's your favorite
dipping sauce?
Who came up with Metallica? No, Metallica. Where'd that come from?
Dumpling dipping sauce.
The name?
Yeah, man.
Ron Quintana. Ron Quintana was a friend of mine in San Francisco. Up in San Francisco, there was a little bit of a different music scene than in LA where we started, and we started playing up in San Francisco early, and we had some friends up there and so on. But one of the guys up there, Ron Quintana, he back then, pre-internet, all this stuff. If you wanted information about your favorite bands, you had to, write to pen pals or. And everybody that was really into music at the time made their own fanzines, as they were called. So it was, 8 pages, stapled together down at Kinko's about whatever their favorite, French heavy metal band that 5 people had heard of was into. And so Ron Quintana wanted to start a little fan magazine. And he asked me one day whether he should call it Metal Mania or whether he should call it Metallica. And I told him to call it Metal Mania.
Because we're taking Metallica.
I'll hang on to the Metallica for you. So I've been forgiven that, thankfully, a long time ago, and Ron is still a good friend.
That's cool.
It's a rad name, Metallica.
Feels good on my tongue. So Lars, this is the standard. Sean.
Hey, Sean.
Sorry to subject you to my dumb question here, but I asked. But these are my favorite answers.
God, again, Lars, we're so
favorite city to play in. Isn't it cold playing without your top on?
No, I
Briefs
want
or
to know.
boxers?
Why is your hat always backwards? What's going on?
You don't want to see what lives under here, trust
No.
me, or what doesn't live under there.
I want to know the craziest tour story, like fan weirdness, something that went wrong on stage or during a set, or like you got to have something that just was like, oh God, the worst one of all was blank.
Well, we're very lucky. I'll answer both. We're very lucky in that we have an incredible group of people that follow us pretty much wherever we go. We actually started selling tickets to them on the last tour. We have something called the black ticket. So you can buy now a ticket that gets you into all the shows on a tour.
Whoa.
And
Wow.
so there's hundreds, if not thousands, of people. We'll go out and play for 6-8 weeks in Europe or whatever, and it's we see all the same faces down front.
No way.
So passionate. They come from all over, from Latin America, from Asia, from Europe. So we have the black tickets.
What's that black ticket running, Lars?
Yeah.
The black ticket. Well, I know people. If you're interested, Jason, and you want to come out, it runs.
It's got to be some kind of a break
$800
on it, right? 800. That's
There's a big break. Yeah, there's a big break on
That's
it. Yeah.
nothing.
It's
For all those shows?
we try to be as fan friendly as possible.
It's like
Wait,
a
how
ski
much
pass.
did he say? How much did he say?
$800. You can see all the shows in the entire
No
tour.
fucking way.
Now they don't get to jump on the plane.
They don't get to jump on the plane, no. But
I'm gonna buy it for. I'm gonna buy it for all of us. Fuck Lars. I'm gonna get you one too.
Yeah.
You know what though? I wish I'd had that. I saw you guys. So Lars, I saw you and Guns N' Roses in September of 1992 at Canadian National Exhibition Stadium in Toronto. It was one of the fucking great concerts I've ever
right
been to,
on.
man. It was unfucking real. I was 22.
Sure.
And you guys rocked it out. And I have such a vivid memory of you. God, I don't even know what. It was basically every song you guys played. And everybody in unison rocking out. I've never seen anything like it before or since in the way the dedication and the sort of the rhythmic
it's
unison.
very, very, very passionate.
It's religious.
Yeah, the stuff
Yeah,
that
very
your
passionate.
eyeballs have seen from your position. You get to see the whole band in front of you and then all of the people in the crowd.
Dude,
is
I'm
like,
telling you, it's bizarre. It was fucking
images you have in
intense.
your head must be
But also
incredible.
now, I'll tell you, I'll circle back to the question that Shawnee was asking earlier, and I'll give you a variation on what you just said about seeing all the people in front of me. There was, you talk about malfunctions. The first one that always comes to mind because it left a deep, deep scar. You were talking about the Black Album, Will, and so we were touring on the Black Album, which was our most successful record up till then. And we had been in America for maybe a year and a half. We'd done the Guns N' Roses tour, and we were starting in Europe a few months later. And we were playing in London. And at that time, and obviously still, London is just press and business and peers and, publicity and all the people from all the record companies and all the publicists and everybody from all of Europe are there. It's London, and at that time it's all music magazines and weeklies like The Enemy and Kerrang and blah blah blah. And so we're playing in the round, which we still do, and I have a drum kit on either side of the stage, and halfway through the set, I supposed to run over and then. The other drum kit, I'm supposed to sit on the other drum kit as it lifts out of the stage, and then I play the other half of the show over on the other side. Well, you could probably guess what happened. So this is the first big show of this European tour, and everybody in our universe is there. And so the drum kit, is under the stage. I'm on the drum kit, and it won't fucking lift up out of the stage. So my view is not 20,000 crazy people in Wembley Arena, wherever it was. It's all the nuts and bolts and the steel and the 12 roadies that are down, under the stage with like crowbars and
Trying to get you
fucking
up.
screwdrivers and hammers or whatever they're doing to try to get this thing to lift up out of the stage. I ended up playing like a song and a half
Underground.
under the stage, submerged, just sitting there. And as
That's
Metallica
hysterical.
was supposed to, have all these articles written about the triumphant return back to Europe after 3 years after being the biggest rock band in America.
Like
and all
Spinal Tap.
the whole story was just about Lars's fucking drums that didn't want to lift out of the stage.
That's
So,
hysterical.
welcome back to Europe. Thank you very much.
That's great. I love
That is so great. And so
So what did you finish the rest on the other drum set? The rest of the show on the other?
Eventually, with enough crowbars and determination,
got it up.
the drums ended up on stage where they belonged.
Oh, that's good.
We'll be right back. SmartLess is supported by State Farm. Insurance can be confusing sometimes. That's why State Farm is there for your what ifs, because they know the rest of your life is already full of thinking about other things, like what if your life was a playlist? Imagine how crazy it would be. Your first song might be a noisy track called Kids, the second one a spooky track called Home Ownership, then like 100 more songs called Work, Health, Pet, Cars, Yard Work. The playlist goes on. And once you put it on repeat and add shuffle mode, things might not sound all that jazzy. That's why the last track you'd want to add to your life's playlist is called Insurance Uncertainties, with lyrics like, what if I'd like to add coverage to my policy? What if I have a question at 3 a.m.? Well, there are some positive notes that can help keep your life in harmony. You can file a claim on the State Farm mobile app, talk to a real person, including your agent, and you can call day or night about insurance coverage and policy questions, because that's just what they do. So no matter how noisy your life may get, insurance can still be music to your ears. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or go to statefarm.com for a quote today. Hey, SmartLess listener, this episode is brought to you in part by FanDuel. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Now, I'm trying to get them to book a bet for me on how long Sean Hayes will stay a part of SmartLess. They're saying the odds are so small that they just can't find anyone to balance out the other side of it. So I've moved on to Will Arnett, still getting really long odds on him staying longer than maybe the next couple of weeks. But anyway, they will take most bets on things, I think, over there at FanDuel. So visit FanDuel.com/SmartLess and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 plus exclusions apply. See show notes for full disclaimer. We get support from NetSuite by Oracle. Your business was humming, but now you're falling behind. Teams buried in manual work, taking forever to close the books. Getting one source of truth is like pulling teeth. If this is you, you should know these three numbers: 36,000, 25, 1. 36,000, that's the number of businesses which have upgraded to NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system, streamlining accounting, financial management, inventory, HR, and more. 25, NetSuite turns 25 this year. That's 25 years of helping businesses do more with less, close their books in days, not weeks, and drive down costs. 1, because your business is one of a kind. So you get a customized solution for all your KPIs in one efficient system with one source of truth. Manage risk, get reliable forecasts, and improve margins. Everything you need, all in one place. I mean, since when has everything you need all in one place ever been a bad thing, right? That's the greatest thing. Right now, download NetSuite's popular KPI checklist designed to give you consistently excellent performance, absolutely free, at netsuite.com/SmartLess. That's netsuite.com/SmartLess to get your own KPI checklist. netsuite.com/SmartLess.
And back to the show.
Are you excited by anybody right now that you're comfortable saying that has sort of the same kind of early ambition that you guys had to sort of be a little left or a little right of what is being embraced, that's sort of real mainstream? You guys are really courageous by kind of pushing the envelope. Is there somebody in music right now that you're excited about their courage?
I mean, there's a lot of great people in garages and in bedrooms all over, obviously making records on their computers now that don't need to go into studios and do the whole spiel that everybody had to do 20, 30 years ago. They don't have to rely on record companies. I think an artist like Billie Eilish, what her and her brother did a couple years ago with those first records that were made at home on the computers is crazy cool and is so it sort of epitomizes the shift of you need a record contract and you need $500,000 to go into a proper studio and make a record now and they made those first couple of records just at home on their computers, and that to me sort of is indicative of the possibilities now that the technology, the four of us could make a record.
Let's do it.
For the rest of the afternoon and put it out tomorrow.
Let's do it. Jesus, why are we not doing this already? Why are we not doing this already? Why are we not doing this right fucking now, Lars? Do we want to break the internet or not? What are we doing?
Well, speak a little bit more about that, about the record industry and stuff. Not to get sort of in the weeds about all that, but obviously there's been a big change in the record industry where
streaming, etc.
Yeah, and you're not really selling albums as much as more of kind of a la carte kind of songs that are downloaded on streaming service, blah, blah, blah. And then the bands really make their money, correct me if I'm wrong, from touring now. And so I'm assuming that the bands, if they want to make money, they got to be on the road more. Are you guys on the road more? You guys don't need to make money, but how are you feeling about the way the business is sort of balanced right now as far as being out versus selling albums, staying home, and the ratio of that?
Well, obviously it's changed quite a bit, and in your guys' industry, some of the same things that we were dealing with 20 years ago are happening.
Yeah.
I mean, big picture, and I know this may sound like a little bit of a cop-out. I'm just happy that fucking anybody cares about what we're doing and shows up to see us play and still stream or buy or steal our records or whatever. The engagement itself, I think, is the triumph and the victory. Obviously, it's way, way harder for a lot of the younger bands nowadays because they don't get the support of the record companies for basic things, just like gear and tour support. So there is a very much of a different thing. It's I just talent, good songwriting eventually will find a home with a larger group of people, and whether you do it from your bedroom or through a record company or whatever, I believe that everybody will be heard eventually if they're talented. But it is tough. It's tough for a lot of the younger bands out there, and for a lot of the bands that 20 years ago could make a living playing clubs or theaters are having a harder time now because they don't sell as many records, and you really have to be out there and pushing it.
Do you feel like when you go and you make a record, like your new record, 72 Seasons, that you guys made that came out this year, and that you're touring, I think you're touring this year on, right?
Yep.
This is on the new record.
Yep.
When you make that new record, when you guys have conversations about it coming out, like, are you guys like, or I don't know, the record company or whoever, it's such a different approach because you're not going to the record stores, it's not sending out vinyl, or it's not sending out CDs, or it's not sending out, it's like load up the streamer, or does that play at all into it?
Yeah, I mean, the key thing, as an artist, I think when you write songs, and it's the same with you guys, you want to start a conversation. You want people to engage. You want people to hear your music. How they hear it, I guess, eventually becomes second tier. And you understand that it's a changed model than it was 25 years ago, 50 years ago, or whatever. I think that in our band, we just love writing songs and we love making records. We love the creative process, and there are a lot of bands that have been around as long as we have that simply don't want to make records anymore because it either doesn't work for them or the business model of it doesn't work for them. And I can't speak for everybody else. We love writing songs. being creative is a significant part of who we are, and it gives us a chance to, what makes us stay functioning is that we go from writing to recording to playing gigs to writing to home. We're always changing up what we're doing, so we never get stuck in the sameness over and over. And so we're not always on the road. We're not always in the studio. We're not always taking our kids to school or whatever. We're not always doing the same thing. So you have to kind of keep just breaking it up and changing what you're doing. And so obviously I understand that we're exceptionally fortunate, but our success gives us the opportunity to sort of do all that. But we would be, if somebody said you can't write or make records anymore, we would probably stop what we're doing because it's such an essential part of just our existence as people.
Sure. And I love, by the way, I love that you didn't say exceptionally lucky. You said fortunate because you're not lucky. It wasn't luck that you guys got here. You guys are talented, but you do recognize the fortune.
He also has not, we're at minute 59. He hasn't said storyteller at
I know,
all.
it's true. It's true. He's not said storyteller.
Musicians
wait,
don't say
Lars,
that.
I have a list of words here not to say on podcast. That's number 7. Yeah.
Lars, if we got a hold of your personal music device, whatever it is that you use when you're like working out when you're cycling or whatever, doing whatever, what's on there? What do you listen? What gets you going? What do you like to listen to currently? I don't mean of all time necessarily.
It's very varied. Obviously, I'll still circle those Deep Purple records from 50 years ago that I.
Is there a genre you're not a fan of?
No, I mean I listen to everything from rock music to jazz music to reggae to pop to hip hop, R&B. I mean I think the easiest way to answer is, and forgive me again if this sounds like a cop-out, but there really are only 2 kinds of music. There's great music and less great music, and so in hard rock, there's great music and less great music, just like in pop or in reggae. A couple days ago, driving back from rehearsals out at MetLife Stadium, we were listening to Bronski Beat. Remember that?
Yes,
Sure.
Run away, turn away, run away.
Yeah, we were listening to.
We love Bronski
I
Beat
was
here.
pumping some Bronski Beat and
Yes.
some.
it's
Some,
wild. Jimmy Somerville.
Yep.
Yeah, Jimmy Somerville.
Love him.
Beat boy, hit that perfect beat boy.
No way,
We
you
were
listen to
listening
that?
to
That's
the Happy
crazy.
Mondays. We were listening
Happy
to
Monday.
Stone Roses.
Tristan McMillan, man, you know you speak so. Stone Roses, fools gold.
I
love Stone Roses.
And
I listened to that
so
album.
it's a lot of varied stuff all the
Dude,
time.
Lars, we're in the same.
What about listening to a full album and since
does anybody do
people
that
don't people don't really buy albums as much as they used to. They're sort of pulling down kind of a single song here, a la carte there. Whereas like Pink Floyd The Wall comes to mind, where there's a whole through line, a thread, a continuity, a thematic that goes throughout the whole album because bands knew that people would potentially buy an entire album instead of a single and listen to it.
Are
And
you saying that they're telling a story?
I'm all around it, but I'm not going to say it.
You were so close to it, dude.
But do you think that will ever kind of happen again, where there's like a rock opera that's kind of
Ooh, like Tommy?
something that's from beginning to
Probably
end?
not, and not in the classic sense that you're saying it. I mean, there's a great band who we've had play with us the last couple of years called Greta Van Fleet.
Oh, I love that. Those guys are great.
And they have they still write longer songs. They appeal to a very young audience, and they still do like crazy long guitar solos. They're really, really great songwriters.
They're very
and-
dramatic. They're very theatrical, those kids, man.
Yes,
They're cool.
But super cool. We've had them with us playing a special guest for the last couple of years to
like
a lot
those
of
guys.
shows.
Yeah.
But I don't think that.
Yeah, but let me tell you something. Jason's idea is good because here's the thing: in Hamilton, the musical Hamilton, it's rapping. Everybody raps.
Right.
It's like
Right.
what a musical that rap. People would be floored if you guys used your music or created new music with your sound. It's
hard
never
rock-
been done.
a
On
hard
the
rock
Do a
Broadway.
musical. What about a musical, Lars?
That's what I'm saying.
Hard
Come
rock
on.
musical?
Let's make some news right now.
I love the reaction on his face.
No, I can see his face. That's a yes.
laughing.
Guys, we've got it. There it is.
Hey, listen,
Metallica's
Hey,
starting
Lars,
a musical.
Lars, let me ask you this before.
Is that what we're looking for here? An exclusive? Is that what we're doing?
No, we're not. We're not getting into musicals. Sean, for once, just one guest. Just leave him out of musicals.
Yeah, stop getting everyone on the
Look,
board,
so
Sean.
cool.
Nobody
though.
wants to
He's so
fucking.
cool.
Nobody likes musicals.
Lars doesn't
okay?
like cats.
I know he doesn't.
I listen. I saw Hamilton. I saw OG Hamilton.
Yeah.
OG, and was as blown away as everybody
Right.
else, and subsequently saw it 4 times. And think that Lynn is one of the
Amazing.
most talented
Incredible.
people on this planet.
Oh, talent,
hands down.
talent.
I went back later that night and just like Googled and YouTubed as much as I could. That clip where he's in the White House, like 5-6
Yes.
years earlier. Did you
Yeah.
guys see that clip? So Hamilton came out in 16. This is 09. He was
Yeah.
in the White House and was telling Obama and the rest of the gathered there that he was working on a musical about Alexander Hamilton.
Yeah,
and
it's incredible.
everybody was just laughing.
Yeah,
and then
I know.
he did the first 5 minutes of it.
That's
and
right.
afterwards, there
Oh,
you
no
got
way.
like a standing ovation.
Yeah, he's a genius. Lynn's
It's
a genius.
Fucking.
Yeah.
Have you never seen that clip, Jason?
No, I'm gonna check
Oh, it's
that
wild.
out.
You
That's
gotta
check it out.
Great.
It's just a piano and him rapping,
Yeah.
Oh,
way.
that's great.
or something like that.
Really
Yeah.
fucking crazy.
Yeah,
cool.
he's a mega talent.
Very
He's a
cool.
mega talent. And guess
So
what?
I'll tell you what. Let's meet. I'll meet you halfway.
Okay.
I'll meet you halfway. My sense is it's going well. So
Yeah.
when Metallica has some musical news,
Yeah.
you guys can break it.
Yes.
Lovely. We would
I love
that.
Got
this.
it.
I
We've
love
got
this.
that
Heard it here.
recorded.
If you'll have me back, even just for 5 minutes, and we can make it an exclusive.
You're
for
the
you
fourth
guys.
host. You're the fourth Beatle.
Are you
right
kidding?
now.
Lars, I want you when we go on tour. If we go on tour, we're talking about going overseas. If we go on tour again,
We'd
have
love for
you
Metallica to open for us.
to open with us simultaneously.
you
Open
could be
for
our
us.
lead in
you imagine?
Wow.
And,
It was going great till then.
we can get into. I read about William Friedkin also this morning or
Yeah.
yesterday, and
R.I.P.
I understand the no mentioning of the great films that he made, and
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I did read about the.
So people know it's because of the strike. We can't mention them. Just so Tracy knows.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you.
Lars, listen, he was another genius too, and I again, I don't want to embarrass you, but you're a genius, man. You've made so much great music for so long.
Yeah.
Such a fan.
and you're a
such
nice
a great
guy.
dude.
That's the
You're
big
so
deal.
patient.
You don't
and
have to be,
you have
and
such
you
a
are.
great vibe,
Awesome.
and you're such a great dude. And it was such a pleasure meeting you all those years ago and having you on
Well,
here,
right back
and
at you,
talking
yeah.
to you, man. And just
Yeah, I
all
feel
the,
like I've known you.
continued success, dude.
Well, thank you. Thanks for
Let's
having
get
me.
back out. Get back out here. We'll go hang out with Coop. Come on, let's do it.
He's gonna cover himself.
This
back
thing
up
is,
again.
I'm sitting up in my publicist's office here in down in Tribeca, and I walked in and was handed this piece of paper. I go, wow, this is high tech.
Yeah, the high
Here we go.
Yeah. No limits here.
We are top of the heap over here at SmartLess.
Thank you for saying yes
Thanks
to this,
for having
buddy.
me. Thanks for being your pick, Will. I enjoyed the time a couple of years ago in France, and it's great to see you guys.
you
Sean,
too,
nice to
man.
meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
And
Good luck on the rest of the tour.
Yeah.
when we have musical news, we'll break it with you guys.
I love
We
it.
would be
You heard it
honored.
first.
Thank you, Lars.
Thanks,
Bye,
Lars.
Much
Thanks,
love.
buddy.
See you, bud.
soon.
Okay,
Bye.
man.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Wow.
That was a great get, Willie.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting about him is, I wasn't one to run out and buy Metallica. Obviously, I like their songs, and know a lot of them, and was a fan of them growing up, too. But it's rare that the drummer is as famous as
It's
the
true.
band.
Well, who else? Phil Collins?
Phil Collins. But he was also
Yeah,
this-
but Lars and James started the band, right? So they
Yeah.
formed it together. So you had guitarist and drummer
like
forming
Wham.
the band.
yeah.
I guess. Boy, where
Well,
wish
that
we'd
might be the
asked him that.
first connection there.
Yeah. So
Which one would Andrew Ridgely be?
He
guess-
would be Lars.
okay.
Let's get Lars back on the floor.
And by the
please.
way, and let's get James on here real quick
Yeah.
too. You know what I mean?
James, that makes you George.
So
I guess.
No,
no,
he was
really
very,
cool,
very
though.
cool.
he's so cool. He's such a cool dude, and he does have such a great vibe, and he's so I don't know. I just love the way you can really access everything when you ask him a question and he can really access it, and he's so sort of concise and he's so quick and
Yes, I like that he's open to sharing anything.
Yeah,
I love
Something
that.
really great
That's the
about
key to keeping a little group together. Is just don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
You see me looking at you, Sean
Oh,
and Will?
No,
See
he's
me
looking in
looking
the
back at
mirror.
you?
You're
No.
looking in the mirror.
No, I'm not looking at my square. I'm
Yeah, you
looking
have a
at your
reflection on
square.
your
Just don't be
laptop.
dicks.
You have a
Well, let's go
reflection on
see.
your
I
laptop.
can't believe we missed them at Giant or MetLife, whatever.
I think it's a
stadium.
great idea if they open for us.
But
Well,
we should.
maybe we just
I
wait
can't
till they
believe
come
you
a
asked-
little
I can't
closer.
believe you asked Metallica.
It's so
to
great. No,
open
he was
for us.
offering. I'm pretty sure he was offering to open
yeah.
for us. Yeah, let's wait till they get a little closer to Los Angeles.
I know, but they are because they're on tour for their record 72 seasons, and it would be great to go. And we should definitely go see them in Los Angeles.
That'd be so fun.
That'd be fun.
I would love to see
I'm going to
them.
go see Tay Tay tomorrow night.
Are you?
I think that's what isn't that what kids are calling her?
Tay Swifty?
Yeah, I'm going to get
Are
my
you going?
Swift
Are you going to
on.
Tay Tay tomorrow?
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah.
Are you taking Franny and Mape?
No, just solo.
Wow, just a one. Just a one.
It's going to be in the parking lot with a little sign.
Oh,
Single.
single.
Anyone
Yeah.
got a single?
Yeah.
No, it will be a full family.
You should
Thanks.
do a video of yourself
Amanda, too.
alone.
Yeah, she's part of the family, and we're
No
all going to
kidding.
go. And apparently,
Self-drive or Uber?
no, I'll be self-driving. I don't drink anymore, so
I
I'm
know.
self-drive.
But I know how. Getting to the state. Where's that? SoFi?
It's at SoFi, yeah. And apparently, you've got to pick an album to sort of dress as. And I don't know.
Name
my
one of her
albums.
albums. Name one of her albums. One.
I couldn't. I'm going to go ahead. See what I'm wearing right now.
Yeah.
That's what it'll be tomorrow night.
Oh, you know what I refer to that is the fuck
it. Yeah.
Yeah, fuck it. You got a lot of fuck it's.
Wasn't George Costanza that said if you wear sweats, you're telling the world you've given up?
I mean,
It's a declaration.
I guess so.
There it is. Sean has given up.
Oh, look at Sean.
Look, I have something to say. If Metallica can't open for us at every single leg of our tour, if we tour again,
Yeah.
they should just do, at least at one of them or two of them, just do a fly.
SmartLess is 100% organic and artisanally handcrafted by Michael Grant Terry, Rob Armjarv, and Bennett Barbaco.
SmartLess.
Our next episode will be out in a week wherever you listen to podcasts, or you can listen to it right now early on Amazon Music, or early and ad-free by subscribing to Wondery Plus in Apple Podcasts or the Wondery app.
Every big moment starts with a big dream. But what happens when that big dream turns out to be a big flop? From Wondery and At Will Media, I'm Misha Brown, and this is The Big Flop. Every week, comedians join me to chronicle the biggest flubs, fails, and blunders of all time, like Quibi.
It's kind of like when you give yourself your own nickname and you try to get other people to do it.
And the 2019 movie adaptation of Cats.
Like, if I'm watching the dancing and I'm noticing the feet aren't touching the ground, there's something wrong with the movie.
Find out what happens when massive hype turns into major fiasco. Enjoy The Big Flop on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to The Big Flop early and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Get started with your free trial at Wondery.com/plus.